Yusuf umefuata nini saizi na unajua Sara hayuko?
Nataka mami wewe unijue kama mimi ni Yusuf kwako.
Wafuata nini tena hapa?
Don't you ever touch me again.
Asa kuna nini?
Ulikuwa unaonyesha pale nje. Kuna msichana nimemwona naye pale nje. Mjamzito hata yuaza leo jioni.
This is my property. Registered property under my name. No, what's your problem?
We take it on at the right time.
Honorable Musalia Mudavadi.
The Honorable Mutahi Kagwe.
Chief Justice Martha Karamvuko.
This is KBC, is the voice of Kenya.
Asking the right questions.
I don't know how it made you feel as speaker who is presiding over a house where members can be compromised with 10,000 shillings.
We keep our guests comfortable. A mission to ensure our audience gets a complete story.
For a few hours or so, I thought this is it. My end has come.
If really we want an end of this pandemic, we must fight.
Our goal, to tell it as it is for the benefit of our viewer.
And I'm sure we will have good discussions.
All right.
That will make probably your viewers understand KDF better.
With 21 radio outlets.
During a live interview on KBC TV, Chief of Defense Forces General Robert Kibosh.
Jaji mkuu kwa mara ya kwanza katika mahojiano yake ya kipekee na runinga ya KBC Channel 1.
And 2 TV stations covering over 90% of the entire country. The message always gets home. KBC, the home of on-air TV interviews.
Yusuf umefuata nini saizi na unajua Sara hayuko?
Nataka mami wewe unijue kama mimi ni Yusuf kwako.
Wafuata nini tena hapa?
Don't you ever touch me again.
Asa kuna nini?
Ulikuwa unaonyesha pale nje. Kuna msichana nimemwona naye pale nje. Mjamzito hata yuaza leo jioni.
This is my property.
Wachana na Jane.
You proposed to me. Iyo mali itukutange tuko mbele when you're already an item. Christine, I thought you guys said you're broke.
Jen, don't let this house fool you. We are broke.
Tumwangushe. What? Ama offer expire sasa.
Offer ya nini?
Pete is at your place.
Bacha nichukue bag twende.
Were you not having these same clothes yesterday? So, get rid of Lawrence.
Mark?
Christine.
Meza yote ili wasema the least, na ukiamua kuchafua meza inakuwaje?
Sorry.
Baby, it's a compliment.
Unkuja hapa kuniamkua pia huwezi. Mimi bora niende zangu nyumbani. Maana siwezi kukaa hapa kama nyewe huwezi kuniambia ukweli.
Yaani wewe, umbe wa kusumbua sana. Karibuni.
Unajua naweza kuwa replaced by tomorrow morning.
Hapana. Beba haraka wenyewe kabiri wewe wawili. Nani? Wacha nifunze wewe ni nani?
Wako wapi wananchi?
Yarudi mga kelele hapa ndo utanijua. Unasikia?
Let her rent.
Ananifagilia nini?
Lala chini.
Rebuda.
Wiki hii kwenye Mkulima tutaangazia ukuzi wa uyoga.
Mushrooms ziko na advantages mingi na pia kulingana na vile the health wise venye kumekuwa, watu wamekuwa used to nyama sana na imekuwa inadhuru watu wengi sana.
Kisha tutafute mbegu ya aloe vera katika maabara.
Hapa hivi ni kuhakikisha kwamba kazi yote ambayo unayofanya pale ni mahali pasafi.
Usikose kujiunga nasi Jumapili saa 9:30 hapa KBC Channel 1.
The vulturine guinea fowl, an animal that has the head of a vulture, the colors of the most brilliant of species, and the tail of a peacock.
What I love most about the birds is their behavior, their calls, how the males attract the females. It's very fascinating. We are still studying the reason why anybody in the group can initiate movement and all the rest will follow.
This is Wildlife Warriors, and I'm Paula Kahumbi.
Good afternoon and welcome. This is KBC Lunchtime News. Thank you indeed for joining us on this 14th day of October 2021. It's actually World Vision Day, and we have a comprehensive bulletin right here that will also encompass business and also sports. My name is Njue. My colleague on the bottom right of your screen who will be handling the sign language interpretation is Lucy Mwaura. At Njue at KBC Channel 1, of course, I will be sampling some of your responses or even where you are watching us from. Well, starting with the drought situation in Samburu, where residents of Lodokejek ward, Samburu County, are decrying hunger caused by persistent drought in the region. Residents, especially women and children and the elderly, say the drought situation has forced them to travel for long distances in search of the basic commodity. Informed that we will be getting more on that story a little bit later. Well, we move on to Kakamega, where civil society organizations leading peace initiative in the county are urging the county government to formulate a peace policy to provide a framework that will guide their activities. The Universal Peace Federation, Kenya Economic Youth Network and Amani Peace Clubs are also proposing setting up of a peace secretariat at the county level. They say such an initiative will help address cases of conflict whenever they emerge.
We are pushing for Kakamega County to have a peace policy, and we set up a peace secretariat in Kakamega County so that even in future, let the policy through the county assembly, this policy is enacted so that it can be appear in CIDP, County Integrated Development Plan.
This is a network that brings together over 130 cities and municipalities across the world. And Strong City is meant to ensure that our county is safe. Our county is safe from violent extremism.
Elsewhere, Kenya continues to maintain a coordinated approach involving all environment protection stakeholders, capped with incentives for forest conservation in a bid to attain the 10% national target on forest cover before the year 2030. Kenya Forest Service Chief Conservator Julius Kamau says the decision to rope in partners and communities adjacent to the forest will see the government's target achieved before next year.
Kenya has been losing about 12,000 acres of forest annually owing to deforestation. This has resulted in widespread effects of climate change, pushing environment conservation conscious entities to team up in a bid to tame and reverse the degradation. Kenya Forest Service's Chief Conservator Julius Kamau says all indications show that the plan to plant 1.8 billion trees before 2030 to achieve a 10% forest cover will be actualized in 2022, thanks to the partnership framework deployed.
And as a Kenya Forest Service, we have realized and we commit ourselves to working together with the forest adjacent communities. These are the communities who are basically the owners of the forest. We are just the custodian of this forest.
He made the remarks at Dundori Forest in Nakuru County during the planting of 10,000 indigenous seedlings. Reforestation of the Dundori Forest is a wider plan to rehabilitate the Mau water catchment, an initiative by Greenbelt Movement together with the French Embassy in Kenya.
First, it's about biodiversity conservation and which is a key issue to preserve water tower, to also fight against climate change. And second, which is very important with this project, and this is a value bared by Greenbelt Movement.
The initiative seeks to conserve and restore the degraded Dundori, Nandi North, and Tinderet forests, which are the critical watersheds of the Mau forest complex.
And now to some good news in the health sector, as Kenyans will get the newly endorsed malaria vaccine RTS-S jab for free. The Ministry of Health, which has also assured of the safety and efficacy of the vaccine, has further announced that 8 counties in the malaria endemic areas will be the first beneficiaries before the vaccination exercise is rolled out in other parts of the country. So far, 200,000 children have received at least one dose through the effort.
The recommendation by the WHO for the broader use of the malaria vaccine signifies a new dawn in ending malaria in the country, the continent, and beyond. We recognize that this is a momentous occasion in the fight against malaria and join our partners in welcoming the recommendations for widespread use of the malaria vaccine in Sub-Saharan Africa.
So we are targeting 8 counties. We have Busia, Kakamega, Bungoma, and Vihiga. And then we also have Siaya, Kisumu, Migori, and Homa Bay. And this is because those areas are prevalent of malaria.
Coming in of a vaccine may or will definitely accelerate the progress that we've made towards meeting our target of eliminating malaria by the year 2030.
In 2019, malaria was responsible for the deaths of an estimated 409,000 people, mostly children under the age of 5 in Sub-Saharan Africa.
And today, being the World Sight Day, we also have the Njue Masumba by-election in Makueni County, and we do have our very own Ed Kabasa, who is on standby and has been monitoring how the voting exercise has been since morning. Ed, if you can hear me, kindly bring us up to speed. What is the latest?
A very good afternoon to you, Ben Troy. It's a very hot afternoon here in Makueni County, but the exercise did begin very early at 6 a.m., just as scheduled by the Independent Electoral Boundaries Commission. And we have seen a number of IEBC commissioners, and it is a sign that things are going as planned. There are 3 candidates who are contesting this seat. The United Democratic Alliance has a candidate, so does the Wiper Party, as well as an independent candidate by the name Timothy Maneno. This election, this by-election, has attracted a lot of interest, considering the fact that it comes just 1 year to the general election. All these parties are looking to make a foothold in this particular region and make a statement, a political statement, that ahead of the general election they are able to convince the voters that they are able to deliver on the things that the residents want. And shortly I will be joined by the presiding officer. We are at Ntithi polling center, and here is a very good afternoon to you. What is your name, sir?
My name is Peter, the presiding officer, Lindi Polling Station 1.
We don't see a lot of people coming in to vote. Does it mean that they had voted and went to do their daily business, or you are still waiting for them to finish their daily business and then come and vote?
Not really. We had a huge turnout in the morning, especially from 6 and up to around 10 and 11. Actually, right now the process has gone down a bit, but we are hoping by around 5 o'clock, before we close, we'll have another huge turnout in the morning.
How many registered voters are casting their ballot here today?
1,240.
And are you able to tell us perhaps the predicted turnout, or this is something that is beyond your control?
Well, considering by now we have around 500 voters who have voted, we're estimating probably around 700 to 800 voters will probably cast their vote today, which is a huge turnout considering it's a by-election, it's not a general election.
And most of the centers did open at 6 a.m. Are you going to close everything here at 5, or you're going to extend it a little bit so that those who are yet to cast their ballot get the opportunity to do so?
Not really, because by law, once we open a polling station at 6, we have to close at 5 p.m. However, if you have people on the queue at 5 o'clock, we will allow them to vote, of course, yeah.
And what is the process? After you're done counting, how are you going to deliver the results to the tallying center?
Well, once we are done with the counting, we'll just get into our vehicles and then go directly to the tallying center, where we'll give the result directly to the RO, who will read the result out, what the PO will give.
All right, thank you, sir. All right, Ben, that is the presiding officer at Ntithi polling center. He has said that at least 500 people have cast their ballot so far out of the over 1,000 registered voters who are eligible to cast their ballot here. We are still going to be following up this election, this by-election, until the results are announced. 3 candidates, an independent candidate, as well as a Wiper Party candidate, and a UDA candidate. A lot is hanging on this exercise in Makueni County. My name is Edward Kabasa. Back to you.
Earlier claims of voter intimidation, has that been addressed yet?
All right. Thank you very much, Troy, for that question. We did speak to a number of players, the stakeholders in this. These are the aspirants, as well as some of the representatives who are acting on behalf of the Independent Electoral Boundaries Commission. What we were told is that this is a fair process. Every voter is going to be given the opportunity to make his or her voice heard. And after it's all said and done, the counting will begin, and the results which will be announced. That is the true picture of what had transpired during the day. So there shouldn't be any worry about voter bribery, because voters have already decided on who they want to be their member of the county assembly here at Njue, Masumba Ward.
Ed Kabasa, and for final question, how has the situation been in terms of security-wise? Because at least you are in one polling station. Have you been able to know how other polling stations are?
From yesterday, there has been a heavy presence of security agencies here, and everywhere you go, there is a police officer or two. The polling centers, the polling stations, it is a requirement by law that IEBC provides enough security, not just for the voters, but also for the process in general. There hasn't been any incidents since morning. Yesterday there were a couple of incidences, but today the polling centers have been peaceful, and by the mere fact that the candidates are not so many, even the agents who are overseeing this process are just 3 per polling station. So we don't expect any incidents of insecurity, because as I said, the government through the county security office, they have ensured that enough security is provided.
Indeed. Thank you so much, Ed Kabasa. Of course, you will keep us updated on that. 3 candidates, 1 winner. Who will it be? We will be getting back to Ed Kabasa before the day ends, so that we may know who will carry the day. From Kitui, let's now cross over to the coast region, where the Ministry of Water has launched a 1.3 billion shillings to connect water to 9,000 households in Yali and Kisawani sub-counties. Water Cabinet Secretary Cecily Kariuki said 4,000 houses in Yali and 5,000 houses in Kisawani will benefit from phase 1 of the project sponsored by the World Bank.
The CS said the long-term solution for water shortage in the region will be addressed through the 20 billion shillings Njue multi-purpose dam project in Kwale County that is set to commence construction in November. She said the dam, to be completed in 2025, will be a mid-term solution to water shortage in Mombasa and Kwale, and the first phase will supply an extra 40% of water required.
These 2 projects will be responding to the immediate water problems facing Mombasa, and in particular these 2 areas. It is part of our plan and program as national government, working with the other stakeholders, to be able to elevate the low water coverage in Mombasa today, estimated at 27%, and to push it forward to slightly below 40% in terms of coverage once these 2 projects are completed.
The construction of the Njue Dam project is meant to harness the flood flows from Njue River Basin in Kinango sub-county and help tackle persistent water shortages in the coastal region. Kariuki said that by the time Njue Dam is complete, it will yield 85% of water coverage, moving Mombasa away from scarcity to sufficient supply.
It is a project worth 516 million Kenya shillings. Once complete, it will have 4,000 connections. It is anticipated to be complete in June the coming year.
Kariuki said over 500 million shillings has been pumped to see the completion of the Yali project to ensure steady flow of water in the region that relies on hospitality.
About quick breather, but we'll be right back with more news on the other side of this break.
take it on at the right time.
Honorable Musalia Mudavadi.
The Honorable Mutahi Kagwe.
Chief Justice Martha Karambuko.
This is KBC, the voice of Kenya.
Asking the right questions.
I don't know how it made you feel as speaker who is presiding over a house where members can be compromised with 10,000 shillings.
We keep our guests comfortable. A mission to ensure our audience gets a complete story.
For a few hours or so, I thought this is it. My end has come.
If really we want an end of this pandemic, we must fight.
Our goal, to tell it as it is for the benefit of our viewer.
And I'm sure we will have good discussions.
All right.
That will make probably your viewers understand KDF better.
With 21 radio outlets.
During a live interview on KBC TV, Chief of Defense Forces General Robert Kibosha.
Jaji mkuu kwa mara ya kwanza katika mahojiano yake ya kipekee na runinga ya KBC Channel 1.
And 2 TV stations covering over 90% of the entire country. The message always gets home. KBC, the home of on-air TV interviews.
Na Jane.
You proposed to me. Iyo mali itukutange tuko mbele when you're already an item. Christine, I thought you guys said you're broke.
Jen, don't let this house fool you. We are broke.
Tumwangushe. What? Ama offer expire sasa.
Offer ya nini?
Pete is at your place.
Bacha nichukue bag twende.
Were you not having these same clothes yesterday? So, get rid of Lawrence.
Mark?
Christine.
Welcome back and thanks for keeping it KBC. Let's proceed. In politics, Nyandarua Governor Francis Kimemia says Mount Kenya region will vote as a bloc come the 2022 general elections. Kimemia noted that the region cannot afford to be out of government come next year.
Speaking during the homecoming of Jubilee-nominated Senator Isaac Ngugi, Nyandarua Governor Francis Kimemia said if there is a time the region will vote as a united front, it is next year. Noting the political ground has shifted.
Please, I want to urge the leaders who are here, kwa sababu najua bado tunaangalia vile siasa inaenda. Let's join the winning side. Na kila mtu ataangalia ni pande gani itashinda. But I can assure you Mount Kenya region will be part of the formation of the next government.
Memia, who is supporting Orange Democratic Movement leader Raila Odinga's 2022 presidential bid, said the vote-rich Mount Kenya region is part of the major revolution taking place in the country.
But I can assure you there is a big change. There is going to be a major revolution taking place in this country. But in Mount Kenya region, we must make sure that we are never in the opposition. Come 2022, we must join the government.
This as the Party of National Unity announced formation of a committee to commence talks with ODM with a view of working together ahead of the general election. PNU Chairman Engineer David Kamau says the party's National Executive Council endorsed the decision unanimously.
We have committed ourselves and made a resolution and came up with a committee to negotiate with the ODM team whom we have already started working with. And I can tell you the NEC is ready and willing to get now to a table on that and sign any agreement which they deem fit.
PNU has also vowed to mobilize support for Raila in Mount Kenya, even as they are the youth in the region to register as voters.
Elsewhere, a detergent-making organization has partnered with the Ministry of Education for a hand-washing campaign targeting 30,000 school children. Reckitt, through its Dettol products, say the campaign will boost hygiene standards, help contain the spread of coronavirus and other hygiene-related illnesses.
Behind my hand.
The 2021 campaign seeks to educate school children and members of the public on the importance of hand hygiene as an important measure to prevent diseases such as the coronavirus with a practical infection control mechanism. The campaign is ahead of the Global Hand Washing Day to be celebrated on the 15th of October, which aims at raising awareness of making soap and water available globally, especially in public places, schools and healthcare facilities. The country manager, Reckitt East Africa, Asim Hashimi, said Dettol has always been at the forefront of hygiene education.
Moving on, Chinese President Xi Jinping says his country will continue to advance ecological progress. Addressing the Leaders' Summit of the 15th meeting of the Conference of the Parties to the Convention on Biological Diversity in Beijing, President Xi said China has made remarkable progress in building an ecological civilization.
Xi cited the recent story of the northward travel and return of a group of elephants in Yunnan province in southwestern China as a clear indication of his country's endeavor to protect wild animals. Chinese President Xi Jinping says China will continue to advance ecological progress and stay committed to implement the new development philosophy, even as he emphasized the need of having an innovative, coordinated, green and open development for all and build a beautiful China. COP15 kicked off on Monday afternoon in Kunming, capital of southwest China's Yunnan province. It is the first global conference convened by the United Nations, highlighting ecological civilization, a philosophy proposed by China. The theme of the 15th meeting conference of the parties to the Convention on Biological Diversity is ecological civilization, building a shared future for all life on Earth. Timothy Kipnosu for Lunchtime News.
To Europe, where 5 people have been killed and 2 more injured in Norway after a man used a bow and arrow to attack them. The attack took place at the town of Kongsberg, southwest of the capital, Oslo.
A Danish man aged 37 has been arrested on suspicion of carrying out the attack. Police believe he acted alone and will investigate whether it was an act of terrorism. The attacker is said to have launched the assault inside a Coop Extra supermarket on Kongsberg's west side. One of those injured was an off-duty police officer who was in the shop at the time. A spokesperson for the chain later confirmed a serious incident at their store, adding that none of their staff were physically injured. Meanwhile, carbon emissions are rebounding strongly and are rising across the world's 20 richest nations, according to a new study. The Climate Transparency Report says that carbon dioxide will go up by 4% across the G20 group this year, having dropped 6% in 2020 due to the pandemic. China, India and Argentina are set to exceed their 2019 emissions levels. The authors say that the continued use of fossil fuels is undermining efforts to rein in temperatures. According to the report compiled by 16 research organizations and environmental campaign groups, coal use across the G20 is projected to rise by 5% this year. This is mainly due to China, who are responsible for around 60% of the rise, but increases in coal are also taking place in the US and India. Coal use in China has surged, with the country experiencing increased demand for energy as the global economy has recovered.
Let's now make sense of shillings and cents in business, where all eyes are on the Energy and Petroleum Regulatory Authority as it reviews fuel prices. Kenyans are waiting with bated breath to see the directions the fuel prices will take for the next 1 month. IPRA is under serious public pressure to lower the cost of commodity even as the global oil prices surged last month on account of suppressed production and souring demand due to the recovery of the global economy.
Products like such, there would be unscrupulous traders who would want to try their hands by bringing in unfair trading practices. The government is aware. The government has institutions in place. The Kenya Bureau of Standards, the Anti-Counterfeit Authority will be alert to see that no one compromises the kind of quality that we'll be seeing.
Mandera County business community is urging the government to open and streamline the Kenyan-Somalia custom border. The investors say getting goods from Nairobi or Mombasa is far and expensive compared to sourcing them from Somalia. The Mandera-Somalia border point was closed in the year 2018 to curb illegal imports from Somalia and Al-Shabaab security threats.
Mandera Governor Ali Roba has said the closure of the Customs Department at the border of Mandera with Somalia and Ethiopia has dealt the county a major blow due to loss of revenue. Before the closure of the border, the county used to generate more than 500 million shillings in revenue, which has since been lost due to closure of the border point.
After the closure of the Kenya-Somali border, we've suffered tremendously, and the current talk ongoing of possible opening of the border is going to have a huge potential in terms of own source revenue for Mandera County and generation of additional revenue for the government of Kenya to the tune of up to 2 billion shillings from our estimation in terms of what's going to happen, and more than $500 million shillings for the county government directly to do collection of cess and other trading activity related issues.
The governor is urging the Kenyan authorities to engage the Somalia government and agree on the modalities of reopening the border for business to thrive. Roba says the government should build a one-stop border point to boost trade between Kenya and Somalia. Speaking during a meeting with Mandera County leadership, Commission for Revenue Allocation Chair Jane Karingai has urged county governments to diversify their revenue sources.
And this is one of the things we have been trying to emphasize as a commission, that every county puts into or formulates a city board that is able to take care of the city infrastructure. So we are delighted, we are excited at what we are seeing on the ground, and we really want to encourage other county governments to come and see what you can do with very limited resources.
Mandera County receives an average of 12 billion shillings from the national government, while it generates 120 million shillings from internal sources. Reporting for Lunchtime News, I am Teresa Mutai.
Elsewhere, South Africa's Telkom and ICASA are at loggerheads again following their long-winding dispute in South Africa. Tension continues after the regulator ICASA announced its plan to take on operator Telkom and its objections to the end of the temporary spectrum scheme.
Telkom hopes to stop the Independent Communications Authority of South Africa from withdrawing temporary radio frequency spectrum given out at the start of the COVID-19 outbreak. Telkom has filed papers at the High Court to set aside ICASA's decision because it could have impact on its network performance and also on its customers. The temporary spectrum has turned out to be very popular with operators at a time when much of the population has been forced to stay and often work at home. As a consequence, customers have used a lot more data, for which the extra spectrum provided very helpful, allowing mobile operators to deliver faster connectivity to customers. Meanwhile, Occidental Petroleum Corp agreed to sell its interest in 2 Ghana offshore fields for $750 million to Cosmos Energy and Ghana National Petroleum Corp. The oil and gas producer looks to cut the debt it took on with its purchase of Anadarko Petroleum. The deal includes Occidental interests in both the Jubilee and 10 fields, which together had net production of 22,000 barrels of oil, equivalent per day for the second quarter of 2021. Finally, Egypt's LNG exports are expected to rise in October. Egypt's natural gas company issued a sell tender on a free on-board basis, loading in the country's Damietta plant on industry source in Singapore and a trading source in Europe. Egypt has exported 4.3 million tons of LNG in the first 9 months of this year, up from 0.45 metric tons a year earlier, due to rising domestic gas availability and an improvement in the pricing environment. Egypt has increasingly been able to meet domestic gas demand and allocate surplus production for export.
Let's revisit our earlier story where residents of Lodokejek Ward, Samburu County, are decrying hunger caused by persistent drought in the region. Residents, especially women, children and the elderly, say the drought situation has forced them to travel for long distances in search of the basic commodity.
A large number of residents, especially women, children and elderly in Lodokejek Ward in Samburu County, are a distraught lot. They say the current drought situation has dealt a heavy blow to their day-to-day lives.
Kama kuna ng'ombe ulibaki nyumbani kama 2 ama 3, sasa unahamisha kabla tu mtu tu na kuenda kutafutia chakula.
Kerio Valley Development Authority is among agencies that have stepped in to alleviate the suffering by distributing relief food to more than 1,300 people. The national government has set aside 100 million shillings through the Kerio Valley Development Authority, which will be used to sink boreholes in 6 counties under the drought mitigation program.
It's really terrible. Hakuna ng'ombe itabaki hapa. Kama mvua haitanyesha in the next 2 weeks, hakuna ng'ombe itabaki hapa. So we are praying hard, Mungu atuonee huruma na tupate mvua, kwa sababu maisha ya pastoralist at the current situation imekuwa ngumu sana.
KVDA Director Pauline Lenguris says 3 boreholes will be located in Poro, Suguta Mamar and Lodokejek wards in Samburu County.
And that report from Samburu takes us to our second break. But don't go away, we still have sports news coming up next.
Na Jane. You proposed to me. Iyo mali itukutange tuko mbele when you're already an item. Christine, I thought you guys said you're broke.
Jen, don't let this house fool you. We are broke.
Tumwangushe. What? Ama offer expire sasa. Offer ya nini?
Pete is at your place.
Acha nichukue bag twende.
Were you not having these same clothes yesterday? So, get rid of Lawrence.
Mark?
Christine.
Meza yote ili wasema the least, na ukiamua kuchafua meza inakuwaje?
Sorry.
Babe, it's a compliment.
Unkuja hapa kuniamkua pia huwezi.
Mimi bora niende zangu nyumbani. Maana siwezi kukaa hapa kama nyewe huwezi kuniambia ukweli.
Yaani wewe, umbe wa kusumbua sana. Karibuni.
And before we do sports, let's look at this other news article where all eyes are on the Energy and Petroleum Regulatory Authority as it reviews fuel prices. Kenyans are waiting with bated breath to see the directions the fuel prices will take for the next 1 month. EPRA is under serious public pressure to lower the cost of the commodity even as global oil prices surged last month on account of suppressed production and souring demand due to the recovery of the global economy.
Kenyans are still reeling in shock following a 6% increase in fuel prices last month as the government dropped subsidies that had suppressed local pump prices. Super petrol, diesel and kerosene went up to 134 shillings and 72 cents, 115 shillings and 60 cents, and 110 and 82 cents per litre respectively in Nairobi. The record high price have pushed up the cost of production in the country. Today, all eyes are on the Energy and Petroleum Regulatory Authority as it moves to review this month's prices, expected to come out this afternoon. Petroleum analysts say fuel prices are expected to go up due to the sharp rise in crude prices and the depletion of cash for the monthly fuel subsidy, which is used to stabilize fuel prices. Global oil prices have climbed above $80 a barrel, hitting their highest level in 3 years. Brent crude, the international benchmark, has risen to as much as $83, the most since October 2018. The analysts further say unless the National Treasury provides emergency cash to subsidize the rising crude oil costs, Kenyans should brace themselves for hard times. Yesterday, the National Assembly Finance Committee recommended a 50% cut in petroleum development levy charged on super petrol and diesel. The committee is also proposing a reduction in petroleum companies' profits by 3 shillings from the current 12 shillings a litre. Caroline Jenga for Lunchtime News.
And in sports, US Open champion Alexander Medvedev was knocked out of the Indian Wells tennis tournament in the round of 16 after losing to Bulgarian Grigol Dimitrov 3 sets of 4-6, 6-4, 6-3. Dimitrov is set to take on Polish Wimbledon semi-finalist Hubert Hurkacz in the quarterfinals. Elsewhere, world number 26 Cameron Norrie beat American Tommy Paul in 3 sets to reach the quarterfinals of the Indian Wells Masters. The Briton won 3 sets of 6-4, 4-6, 6-2 to claim his 44th win on the ATP Tour this year. The British number 2 is set to face Diego Schwartzman in the last 8 after the Argentine beat Norway's Casper Ruud in straight sets.
For Grigor.
And former American middle distance runner Mary Cain has filed for a $20 million lawsuit against his coach Alberto Salazar and Nike for years of alleged suffering and emotional abuse. The athlete, who's considered as generational talent at a tender age, qualified for the 2013 World Championship at the age of 17 years. She has been part of the Nike Oregon project from the age of 16 under the mentorship of coach Salazar. In 2019, the athlete told sources that rather than her coach improving her talent, he indulged into behavior that led to the athlete thinking of even committing suicide.
I was emotionally and physically abused by a system designed by Alberto and endorsed by Nike.
And the United States men's football team claimed a 2-1 victory over Costa Rica, while Mexico thrashed El Salvador 2-0 on Wednesday in Confederation of North, Central America and Caribbean Association Football CONCACAF, qualifying for the 2022 World Cup. Meanwhile, Canada, who are looking to qualify for the World Cup for the first time, also beat Panama 4-1 at home.
The United States fans in Columbus were stunned when Costa Rica took the lead in just the first minute when Keisha Fuller scored the first goal. Sadino Odes equalized in the 25th minute with a left-footed shot into the top corner, and the United States went ahead in the 66th minute with a goal from Njue.
Costa Rica have had a chance to regroup, but here's Dest!
Meanwhile, Mexico, who lead the group with 14 points from 6 matches, are 3 points clear of the United States, while Canada come in third on the group with 10 points. Both Mexico and Canada remain unbeaten in the group as Canada look to qualify for the first time since 1986. Panama sit in fourth position with 8 points, followed by